The first time I saw him, he was counting coins at the grocery checkout. Half moons of silver nudged into a tiny, trembling pile. He wore a coat too big for his frame and a wool cap with a stray thread he kept tucking behind his ear as if it were a thought he couldn't quite hold. On the belt, white bread, a small jar of peanut butter, a can of soup, and a bag of cat food with a smiling orange tabby on the front. "Sir," the cashier said, gentle but tired, "you're short by 87 cents. He stared at the numbers glowing on the screen like they were a language he once knew and had forgotten. His hand moved to the cat food, hesitated, then to the bread. He swallowed. "It's all right," he whispered. "To no one and everyone. I'll just leave the soup." Before I knew I was moving, my card was already out. "I've got it," I said. The words surprised me, as if someone else had walked me to that moment and put them in my mouth. He turned, eyes clouded with the sheen of someone who learned a long time ago not to expect miracles. "You don't have to," he said. But he didn't put the soup back either. "It's my favorite," I lied, signing the screen. "Cold days." The cashier bagged the groceries. He tried to pay me back in quarters and apologies. I told him he could pay me by letting me carry the bags to his car, though when we stepped outside, I realized he didn't have one. He had a canvas tote so worn the handle was more thread than fabric. Snow creaked under our feet, the sort of brittle cold that makes the air clear and honest. "Just 2 blocks," he said, "if it's no trouble." He walked slowly, the bag on his wrist, careful steps like he was balancing on a thin line stretched over something deep. "I'm Theo," he added, as if it were a confession, not an introduction. "The cat is Miso. She's the boss." I laughed, the sound startling in the winter stillness. He told me he'd taught history once, years ago, before his wife got sick, and the world rearranged itself around hospital rooms and calendar squares marked in blue. After she passed, he said, the house got too loud with her not in it. Then Miso chose me at the shelter. That's how cats do things, you know. They choose. We reached a small building with a stoop that leaned a little to one side, like a shoulder offered to a friend. Inside, his apartment smelled like old books and clean laundry and something warm that sat in the air like a memory. Miso emerged from under a chair, her tail question-marking, and walked straight to me as if to approve the guest list. Theo moved like a man remembering the choreography. He set the bread on the counter, the soup by the stove, the cat food by a dish that had a chip shaped like a crescent moon. The whole time he murmured to Miso, "Look, princess, your favorite. Don't tell Dr. Chen we spoil you. Do you have everything you need?" I asked, and it sounded larger than groceries. It landed in the room and looked around and waited. He opened his mouth, then closed it. "I used to know how to ask for help," he said finally, but grief made my voice small, as if asking would unspool something I'm not ready to lose. He made soup for both of us. We ate standing up, spoons clinking the sides of mismatched bowls. He told me about the girl he married and the classroom where he learned every year that children blur the lines on maps. He told me he sometimes sat on the edge of the bed at night and said her name out loud. Not so the world would answer, just so the sound wouldn't disappear. I told him my mother had loved peanut butter sandwiches and snow. I told him I'd stopped going to the grocery store after she died, because it was full of foods that remembered her without asking permission. And today was my first time back. We washed the bowls. Miso supervised, curling her body into the warmth of the radiator. The apartment felt less like a room and more like a held breath finally exhaled. When I left, Theo followed me to the door, something folded in his hand. "This is silly," he said, pressing a library card into my palm, cracked lamination and all. It expired the year she got sick, but it was mine when I still felt useful. "Keep it. Or bring it back when you want more soup." I walked home in snow that softened the edges of everything. Halfway down the block, I turned and saw him still standing there, one hand lifted. A small, brave wave. The next morning, I returned with coffee and a bag of groceries. He had a list on the table in neat, teacherly script. Bread, peanut butter, soup, oranges for scurvy. Treats for Miso, non-negotiable. We laughed until we cried. Or maybe we cried until we laughed. It's hard to tell where one ends and the other begins. We made Thursdays our day. Sometimes we read aloud from old history books, while Miso chased dust motes like confetti. Sometimes we cut oranges and the room filled with light that could be peeled apart. He taught me how to fix the hinge on a door that had been complaining for years. I showed him how to set a reminder on his phone for refilling prescriptions.